I've been wanting to have this chat with you, but I wasn't really sure how to have it. And normally I would have had my hair done and makeup on and all dressed up and all the lighting and everything perfect before I would have made one of these videos. That was almost 8 years ago that I started on this journey when I became a solo female digital nomad, an entrepreneur, and even ended up RV living. There was a place that I was at before all that started and before I wanted this lifestyle change. I feel like there's someone out there that needs to hear this and probably where you're at or maybe some of the feelings that you have. I actually am about to celebrate a really important milestone, which is when I quit my job, and it'll be February 18th of 2015 this Saturday. So depending on when you're watching this video, that'll be 8 years ago. But I wanted to read my resignation letter, but what I wanted to tell you is if you want to be a female digital nomad or male digital nomad, but if you want to get started on this journey and you're worried and you're struggling financially, you're worried about also downsizing, I want these learning lessons to help with that. This is more of like, I guess, a coffee chat from me to you because I do have a little coffee. I told you before I would always be really worried about what everybody thought. I remember I wouldn't even take my dogs outside until like I have makeup on and all that fun stuff. But I had a point that all of that changed. I wanted a lifestyle change. I was really hungry. I wanted out. If you've seen my story, you can probably relate to that. If you haven't, I'll drop a link to it below this video, which you can watch after this video is over. But I wanted to give you kind of, I guess, a follow-up on my story or more of my story to help inspire you a little bit. If you're looking for financial freedom and independence, if you're constantly worrying about the system and society, and also kind of where I was at and maybe where you're at, I had achieved this status at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. I had all this stuff. I had a condo and a house and a title, a car. I think I had a Lexus at one point. I've had all kinds of little tricked out whips, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I was like, this isn't my story. So one day, I got this bright idea that I was just gonna quit my job. I wrote this letter. It took me 6 months to prepare for this, okay? And so I said, this is my resignation letter. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter as a notification that I'm resigning from my position with Bank of America Merrill Lynch on Friday, February 18th of 2015. I apologize for not being able to provide 2 weeks notice. However, I regret that due to circumstances beyond my control, I needed to resign immediately. Please forward my last paycheck to my home address. Thank you for the support that you have provided me during my tenure with the company. Sincerely, Brandi. I always kind of laugh about this because obviously they got the message, but my boss never wrote me back. I put that in an email that is totally not how you should probably quit, but maybe that's actually acceptable now. I may have also sent a letter in the mail and certified it, but I never heard back from anyone except my paycheck did make it to my home address or in my bank account or something. But like I said, I had prepared for this for like 6 months to quit my job, and I had this like tug inside of me. And if you're like, what is that chick looking at? I'm looking at my computer. Digital nomad, you know, female digital nomad. I took some notes to be able to better communicate with you. Blogging Brandi, subscribe. Please subscribe because this is truly me speaking to you about behind the scenes of my life and how this really played out for me and how I ended up in an RV and all of that fun stuff. I was blessed to grow up with a finance and accounting and investment background, which means I know how to accumulate wealth, multiply wealth, and actually like keep your wealth. I sent this to somebody in an email the other day and I was like, hey, I just want to be extremely clear with you that you understand that I have a degree in finance and I grew up with accounting and investment like in my blood, and I quit my job investing billions of dollars with the push of a button. I even told this to somebody the other day. I was like, I don't feel like, not that you're beneath me or below me, but I feel like God showed me these people in my life so that when I was approached or put into situations with people that have that kind of money, I'm not like, oh my God. Because I remember at one point when I told somebody how much it cost to invest with me in my course, they said, oh my God. And I was like, I mean, that I don't really think that, do you know my story? Do you know who I am? And actually I figured out that that person was like not for me, but it's those people that are hungry. And if you do want to invest in me and you want to learn how to become a digital nomad and do this whole RV life thing, I'm gonna put a link below this video so you can go to that. You can also head over to workingwithbrandi.com and learn more about that. I have this whole financial background, okay? But there was a point in my story where God told me that if I wanted to hear from him and get closer to him and stop worrying and know my real purpose and true story for why I'm on this earth, is that I needed to sell everything and not be focused on like the world's idea and the system's idea of how to achieve money and my life and goals. And so if you know, I made a very life-changing decision in my story and it changed my life. It was life-changing. At that point, I wanted healing and I wanted God to help me financially, spiritually, physically. I just wanted out. I wanted something different. I knew that the life I was in was like not it. And he was telling me like, hey, you have like crossed the line at this point and I feel like you need to get back to me or like meet me or have a relationship with me. That was kind of where I was at. It's not just about RVing or RV life or becoming a digital nomad. It is literally a lifestyle change. And I laugh about that because my boyfriend would say, hey, there's a lifestyle for sale over here. It really was. I was literally selling one life and creating a whole nother life. You know, it was like this professional, financial woman over here that I had done this whole career to be and be like my parents' dream and mainly my dad. And then I had this person that I really wanted to be that was like deep inside of me, like trying to get out. And I didn't really know how to get there, but I was just like, okay, I'm going to sell everything so that I can get rid of the noise and the things and I can like really hear from God. Like I said, it's not just about RVing RV life or becoming a digital nomad or entrepreneur or living in an RV. It's literally like a lifestyle change, going from like one mentality of everything you've been trained, 401k, going to college, getting the job and getting married and the house and the white picket fence, and to a whole nother like, oh, I don't need to think about the next 10 years or 20 years or having the retirement funds and all of that. I was at a point in my life and, you know, I wanted to become my own financially independent, emotionally, spiritually. And it wasn't that I didn't have money. I made like great money. I made like $100,000 a year, but I wasn't fulfilled. And it was like I was just making money to pay my bills. It wasn't really that didn't say I didn't have anything. Like I had a house and I had a car, but it was like it didn't mean anything to me anymore. I was just wanted to feel like this happiness. I always say it's not the fact that people don't have money. There's people out there that have money. It's like they don't even know what to do with it. I don't want to say that's where I was at, but I just feel like sometimes there's people that follow me and that's where they're at on their journey. You don't know what you don't know. And people think that if they have money, that's all they need. But honestly, it's like a mindset shift is what you need. I wanted to tell you this story that I was at and I read in the Bible. Yes, that's the book for me. But honestly, this isn't a Bible or preaching lesson. I just want to tell you where I was at. And I read this in Luke 12:13-34, and I use a life application Bible, which I'll put a link to below this video. But what I like about it is it gives you commentary, and so I kind of want to tell you how I interpreted this and like why I decided to make a lifestyle change. And honestly, this was like one of the verses that I was reading, or a few of the verses that I was reading, that made me say you need to make a shift in your life. If that's where you're at and you're feeling like, okay, I really want to do something different, I want to be a digital nomad, I want to be financially independent, I want to travel, or even if you don't, like if you haven't seen my story, I actually lived stationary and still have a stationary setup in a travel trailer, and then we also have like a van, so van life. In Luke 12:13-34, I'm going to try to go through this part quick and then give you the commentary. I just didn't want you to think like I'm preaching to you. It says the parable is about the rich fool, so someone that was storing up a lot of their riches. So someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." And they were talking to Jesus, and Jesus replied, "Man who appointed me to judge or arbitrator between you?" Or he's asking who appointed that. And then he said to them, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." And he told them this parable: the ground of a certain rich man yielding an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store all of my crops." And then he said, "This is what I'll do. I'm going to tear down all my barns and I'm going to bigger barns, and I'm gonna have a surplus to where I can store all this. Then I'll say to myself, wow, you have so much stored up for all these many years. You can take life easy and eat and drink and be merry. It kind of makes you think of like retirement. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life is going to be demanded from you, and then you will get what you have prepared for yourself. This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves but is not rich in reward towards God. If you look at the commentary in that, it says problems like this were often brought to the rabbis for them to settle. Jesus' response was not directly to the topic that he needed. It was not a change in the subject, it was rather a change in his mindset. So Jesus pointed to a higher issue in the correct accumulation of wealth. So your mindset and the wealth. And so life is more than just material goods. And, you know, I was trying to reach that same status, I guess, with my job. It's like, oh, if I get the car and I get the house and I have this retirement, I have like all these things, then I'll be this happy person. But again, that's not where I was at. That's not how I felt. Your relationship with God is way more important than all of that. And so Jesus put his finger on the questionaire's heart in this story. And so we can bring our problems to God in prayer. He often does the same thing if we're praying to him. He lets us know how we need to change and grow in our attitude towards him. And the answer is, it's not what we're looking for, but it's a more effective way in helping us get where we're trying to achieve, and also pinpointing like where God's hand is on our lives or in our lives. And so the other thing, Jesus says that the good life has nothing to do with being wealthy. So be on guard against greed, the desire for what we do not have. This is the exact opposite of what society usually says. So the advertisers spend millions of dollars to literally like get in your face all day long. Sometimes I wonder if people get this, but this entices us to buy more of their products, that we'll be happier, we'll be more fulfilled and more comfortable, more, you know. And so my question is, how do you respond to the constant pressure to buy? My answer to that is to learn to tune out all the noises to buy those expensive enticements, and to concentrate on truly living a good life in relationship with God and doing his work. So the rich man in Jesus's story actually died before he could even use all of the things that he had saved up. And so that's my other thing I always tell people is like, what if you die tomorrow? Like, what was the point of all that? You know, accumulating everything or doing that thing that you didn't do or do want to do, you know? So he had all these big barns, and then that's like, you know, planning for retirement or preparing for life before death is obviously wise, but neglecting life after death is disastrous. So if you accumulate wealth only to enrich yourself, not having concern for helping others, then you have to think about, if you leave this earth, you're probably going to be empty-handed, or the Bible at least says that you're going to be empty-handed. So why do you save money? To retire, to buy more expensive cars or toys, to be secure. That's probably the reason that you're doing it, but Jesus challenges us to go beyond the earthbound goals and to use what we have been given for God's kingdom in our faith, in our service, and our obedience. And the way to become rich towards God, or to feel that way in our life, is to actually like spend the things that we have on what he's laid on our heart, but not like spend it on like clothes and cars, but spend your wealth on either giving back, or in me, I feel like he's given me knowledge on how to like teach people, you know, teach people how to get into this life, teach people how to build their own business, to be self-sufficient, to have their own brand, to know financially how to do this whole thing, RV life and digital nomadism. And how I became an entrepreneur, it came from me sharing my story, why I became an entrepreneur and why I was living in an RV and even stationary in an RV park, or what I like to call a trailer park, that I understood like why God was trying to use me. And so again, if you haven't seen my story, I'll put a link to it below this video so you can watch it. It will show you how much more you can relate to me, for one. And if you can relate to me, please drop a comment below this video, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. So the second thing that I talked about in here, so if you're worried about financially, hopefully that's making sense to you, but also worry in general, and then downsizing. The other thing that was eye-opening for me in this was this other Luke 12:22 through 34. Then Jesus said to the disciples, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you'll eat, about your body, what you'll wear, for life is more than food and more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than birds? So who of you, by worrying, will add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? And so consider the wildflowers that grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that's how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it, for the pagan world runs about such things and after such things, and the Father already knows you need them. Your Father knows that. Seek God's kingdom and these things will be given to you as well. So you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, how am I gonna get clothes and cars and shelter, food. Think about the fact that he's already gonna provide these things for you. He knows what you need. It's just you have to trust in him. So do not be afraid, little flock, little bird. And actually my dog's name is Birdie. That's kind of cute. For your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And so if you look at the commentary to that, it says, Jesus commands us not to worry, but how can we avoid it? Obviously, we're in this world, we're in this system. And so only faith can freeze the anxiety caused by this like greed and this mentality that we've been given. And so working and planning responsibly, obviously those are good things, but dwelling on all the ways that how that could go wrong and bad is not how God intended us to think, okay? And that's, again, a shift in your mind. So you have to go from like a poverty mindset to like a plentiful mindset. Worrying is pointless because obviously it can't fulfill any of our needs. And it's foolish because we already know that our Creator loves us and knows what we need, but he promises to meet all of our needs, not necessarily our desires. Overcoming worrying requires one simple thing: trusting in God. That's expressed in prayer and having faith rather than worrying. So anytime I'm guilty of this, obviously worrying, but I try really hard if I'm worrying to like read the Bible or pray. And then two, it's your perspective on your problems. Okay, you need to gain a perspective on your problems. And this can be gained by developing a strategy for addressing and correcting your problems. And then three is having a support team to help. So some believers who can pray with you and find wisdom and struggling to deal with your worries so you can help each other. And so the reason that I also love to bring that up is because if you feel this tug in your spirit, if you haven't seen my interview with Miranda, one of my clients, I'll drop it below this video, but it is so eye-opening. She literally went from being terrified and worried to not only like downsizing in a day, but changing her mindset. She figured out it was like a lifestyle change and that it was something bigger than just getting financially set with her goals and starting a business or a brand for herself. She figured out it was something so much more and went from this scared person to this extremely confident solo female digital nomad and entrepreneur and starting a blog and a business. And she's on her way to stationary RV living because that's what she's into very, very soon. So if you haven't seen that, I'll drop a link to that below, but it comes from having a support system and a team. And so that's what working with me also entails, is that I have a community and calls and teachings every week. And also you get my strategies and my course and all of that. It's more than just taking a course, like Miranda said in our interview. It's actually doing some work and figuring out like where that work's going to take you and being part of a community and having a lifestyle change and a mindset shift. And so you can't really do that if you're trying to do that with people that are not trying to do the same thing as you, aka the world and the system. You need people that are trying to get out of the world and the system and to be able to do that. So I will put a link to that below where you can learn more about working with me, and also head over to workingwithbrandi.com. The other part of this that I wanted to mention is seeking God's kingdom above all else means making Jesus the Lord and kingdom of your life. I didn't really understand what that meant. Again, if you watch my story, if you see how this is all played out for me, my biggest advice on getting started as a solo female digital nomad, downsizing your life and trying to get your dreams going into saying, hey, I want this lifestyle change. I want to do this RV thing. I want to travel, or I want to live stationary. I want to start a business. I really want my own financial freedom. I want to become my own, or what I like to say, and Miranda said, was just be free and be me. And so again, why I started this channel, Blogging Brandi, outside of my RVersity, my RVing channel, is because I didn't want to just be trapped to talk about my RV life. I wanted to talk about like myself and my dreams and my desires. God must control every area: your work, your play, your plans, and your relationships. You don't want to be constantly in like a negative atmosphere or people that are going against the thing that you're trying to do. And I'm not saying just like quit your job and like invest with me or like go do that thing, like go RVing. I'm saying I planned for 6 months before I quit my job and sent my resignation letter. And I was gonna quit on a Friday, and then I figured out that a holiday was on Monday. I ended up quitting on, I think, a Tuesday or Wednesday. I knew I was gonna get paid. So I wanted my last holiday pay. So my question to you is the kingdom one of your many concerns, or is God central in your life and to everything you do? So I read the Bible almost every morning. I'm not perfect, but I do talk to him like all day long in everything that I do. Even before this video, I always pray, you know, give me the words to say, speak through me to you. Lord, speak through me, and tell the people who are watching this who really need to hear this what you need to say to them, and let me be a vessel for you. Are you holding back in any areas of your life from God's control? And as Lord and Creator, He wants to help provide what you need and help guide you. And I just feel like I am your guide and your coach and your teacher in this. It's not that I have the end all be all, and again, perfection is the enemy of done. Hashtag blog and Brandi. But if you don't start, you can never perfect on your journey. You're never going to change. So again, if you're struggling with greed, if you're struggling with downsizing, if you're struggling with worry, I just want you to think money is seen as an end in itself to, you know, quickly fix everything for us, but it really traps us and cuts us off not only from God, but also the needy. The key to using money wisely is to see how much money we can use for God's purpose, not how to accumulate money for ourselves. My question to you is, does God touch your wallet, His love, or does your money, is it used for you or to help others? So if it's used to help others, then you're storing up lasting treasures in heaven. But if you use your financial goals and possessions for yourself, it hinders you from giving generously and loving others or serving God. So you need to sell. This is honestly like a message to you, okay? And what changed my life. You need to sell what you must to bring your life into line with God's purpose. So if you're struggling with downsizing, I hope that like resonates with you. How can you hear from God? How can you do God's purpose if you've got all this stuff just laying around? And I always teach my students that it's not just about like selling and donating or giving away everything away. There's some things you can sell and there's some things you can donate, and I teach them how to put in a pile and what to trash and everything. And the other question is like, why are you holding on to this thing? What's making you hold on to this thing? There's got to be something inside of you that you're struggling with. Again, if you concentrate all of your money into your business, then your thoughts are going to be on how to make your business profitable. But if you direct it towards other people, then you're going to be more concerned about their welfare. Where do you put your time, your money, and your energy? Do you put that into other people, into items, into stuff, into things, into shoes, into cars, into house, into rent? Or do you invest it into yourself, into your future, into how to help other people? Because, you know, I always like to say that I'm trying to make an impact, not just an income. What do you think about most? That's what I would challenge you, is like, what is all of your time and energy spent towards? I try to take breaks and make sure that I'm saying, okay, God, talk to me, not just me coming up with all of my own ideas. How should you change the way you use your resources and to reflect the kingdom values more accurately? That's what I would challenge you with. And if you're struggling with that, if you need some help on that, if you need someone to help guide you, that's why I created Arversity and RVing for Bosses and my whole digital nomad and program, and why I would encourage you to book a call to work with me and tell me more about where you're at, where you're struggling, and how I can help get you there. All of that fun stuff is in the description below this video, and I really hope that this advice, this little coffee chat of my advice for getting started solo as a digital nomad and female or even male on this journey, entrepreneur. I had to do a lot of this solo. If you watch my story, I was kind of like forced to do this solo. You know what I'm saying? 8 years waiting. There's so much more to that. So watch my story, subscribe, drop a comment below, let me know your thoughts, check out the description for all of the goodies that I mentioned, and thanks for watching. I love you. I can't wait to work with you and help you on this journey, and I hope this inspired you. I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Bye.